Hello, everyone, and welcome to Cosmere Connections. We're a bunch of book-loving nerds rereading Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere series. From book 1 to book 16 million, we'll be uncovering every secret connection there is to find. Today, we are joined by Swiggity Swoo.
How's it going? I recently got the tip of a sword stuck in my chest, and I couldn't feel better.
John.
I take no responsibility for anything Kay says today.
Kay.
Wow, I can't. I'm just taken aback.
And I'm ReaderWarrior, and today we're going to be covering Mistborn, Hero of Ages, Part 2, Cloth and Glass, chapters 24 through 28. We're just going to go straight into it. Kay, I guess you can go first, though I am now scared of what evil concoctions you might have planned.
I didn't have anything planned, but apparently John thinks I got something going on today that he needs to make sure that he is not being targeted for a question mark. I don't know.
I don't know. You were just next. That's all.
Oh boy.
Okay, so I had chapter 24. So in the epigraph, it talks about how the 11th metal stories that Kelsier found were fabricated by Ruin originally in order for Ruin to have a pawn to kill the Lord Ruler, because Ruin knew that if the Lord Ruler was still alive, he would not allow Ruin to escape his prison. Ruin knew that he needed to get the Lord Ruler out of the way in order to allow someone else to take up the power and release it for the quote-unquote greater good.
Mhm.
And let him out.
Well, that sucks.
Mhm.
Because even the thing that, we fought hard and long for with using the 11th metal and figuring out Rashek was a ferochemist and defeating him was all thanks to Ruin.
Mhm.
Yay.
It's always another layer of manipulation books.
There's
a
always
regular
another secret.
And I would just like to point out how just insanely logical that Ruin's plan actually is. Like,
Mhm.
of course, if you trap something, but give it the ability to communicate, it's going to talk to people and use them to create a plan to free itself. Like, that's just... what else would it do?
Mhm.
That is kind of cool.
Yeah.
It comes back later too in chapter 28 when Vin and Ellen are talking, and they just don't know what to do because this thing can hear what they say, and it's manipulated them in the past. It's clearly like all they have left is each other. We'll get into that.
Mm.
Okay. So, I have chapter 24, which is about TenSoon.
No surprise there.
Soonie pup.
Soonie pup. My Soonie pup makes another showing. He's in bone form today, for those of you listening, because TenSoon is still in his bones.
Add
He's
that to
not
the
back
Soonie
into
counter.
So, in this chapter, TenSoon is still in the cage, and he's thinking back to his conversation with Meilon about how, like, he was thinking his plan was to proclaim this terrible news to everyone and then accept his punishment for it. Because he thought that that was the correct thing to do. But now he's not so sure. feels like maybe that's not the right thing to do. Because if he accepts his punishment, he's just going to be sitting in a prison for eternity until the Kandra people die. And then he dies from starvation. Like, and he's like, well, like if I don't do something, then all of the Kandra are just going to ignore what's going on because the leaders want to ignore what's going on in the world. No one is wanting to accept what is actually happening.
Because it's
And
only through a mixture of words and actions can real change come about. You
mhm,
can't rely purely on one or the other.
mhm. And he's also saying about he's like someone needs to tell Vin the secret, whatever the secret is, because she needs to know that information in order to do something. We don't know. Do
In order
something.
to
We don't know.
spoiler.
In order to do something, we don't know what this information is or why it's important. But TenSoon clearly feels that it is important.
A MacGuffin.
And he's in his cage, just hanging out in his own thoughts. And some of the 5th generation Kandra come up to his cage with a sack. At first he's like, oh, they're gonna stuff me inside the sack and like take me away. But then he's like, oh no, there's something inside the sack. And he's like, oh, that sounds like bones when they throw it into his cage. And he reaches inside, and inside are the dog bones. The bones that he was wearing when he first entered the homeland over a year ago. And they have brought these bones to him because they think, based on his conversation that he had with Melan the previous week, that he despises these bones. So they're using it as another way to punish him. To make him wear these bones of a dog because they believe that it's very degrading. It's horrible. Like, how could you ever wear the bones of an animal? Like, Kandra are better than this. Like, it's absolutely disgusting.
They
But
think they're better, but I've noticed that this whole time they've just been trying to bring him down and demean him.
yeah.
Yeah. They plan to have like a Kandra execution where they just break his bones. Why?
Mhm.
I don't know. It'll be fun for the seconds and fifths.
To punish him, to show a public punishment. That this is what happens when someone disobeys the 2nd generation. But this is exactly what TenSoon had wanted to happen. He was hoping they would bring him dog bone to his cage. So now he has the bones and he has a final decision to make. And then is kind of where we end the chapter. For what he's going to do next.
This is another example of a weakness being a strength in a way, because that's kind of like a big theme of these books. You know, they brought him these dog bones as a way to bring him down, but it sounds like it's exactly what he wanted.
There was, I believe we might have brought it up before, but there was a line about how they will starve him to death. So Kandra do need to eat food at some regularity.
Yeah, because they're living creatures.
Well, yeah, but it's like it's never brought up. Like at any point in the homeland, do we see like feeding stations or anything, or
And it's
They're
apparent that Inquisitors don't necessarily need to eat.
mhm.
But it talks about them, like when TenSoon was in his prison, he talked about them giving him slop
Yep.
Well, that's true.
each day and water each day.
Like their favorite food is apparently like rotting flesh.
Aged meat? Excuse me?
Even people like aged meat.
Aged meat.
Not to the degree a Contra does.
I
Or TenSoon. I won't generalize. That's speciesist.
Well, they are related
Seem
to
skeptical.
Mistwraiths.
Dude, Mistwraiths don't. Wait, do they eat like flesh?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're carrion feeders,
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
scavengers. They eat what they find.
that's disturbing.
Hmm.
Pretty straightforward
Yeah.
chapter though. He's just kind of
Yeah.
sad in his cage, and not a whole lot I can,
Mhm.
Obviously having read these books, we kind of know what that secret is that he's got to get to Vin. But
What do you
we're not
mean?
gonna
This is
reveal
my
that
first
now.
time reading it. I have no idea.
I'm gonna raffle that.
Anything else for this chapter?
It is
No.
much like the rest of these chapters for today, very straightforward.
Yep. Chapter 25.
So I am going to do something out of character. The balance is something that Sazed talks about in the epigraph, which is something that has come up on the podcast before. Are Ska and Nobles really the same? And here we find out that they, in fact, are not, or at least they were not. They have been mingling with one another for long enough that any changes that were initially instilled by the Lord Ruler have kind of been bred out of them, and they're sort of no longer different versions of humanity. They're kind of have become the same thing, and we see that
But
with.
I was gonna say we do still see slight differences in the fact that the Ska do tend to have more children still, and the nobles still tend to have less kids.
They
And
also tend to be a little bit taller,
yeah,
but we can see very clearly the mixing and the muddling of the two distinct bloodlines, I guess is a better way to put it. So in the epigraph, they talk about how the balance is something that people have debated about because the Lord Ruler made Ska and noblemen differently. Ska tend to have more children, be a little more hardy, shorter for unknown reasons. Whereas the nobles tend to have fewer children, be a little bit taller, and smarter. But we can see that that has blurred together to a great degree just from the number of Ska mistings that are running around in the world and that we've seen in the books and heard talk of. So they were fairly slight changes, and after thousands of years, the differences have kind of evaporated, though they do still exist a itty bitty bit. But that's the epigraph. So
Real quick, I have a few notes about the epigraph. First of all, I think there is like a little bit. Rashek did when he ascended. He did try to make it so things would be. Granted, he moved the planet. That didn't do well. Apparently, built the ash mounds and then built plants that could work really well and changed humans. I think the balance was literally a balance so that one side was never too powerful than the other. He wanted his people to be better, but he also couldn't have them just like conquering everything. And he needed a hardy workforce. And the best way to do that is have a very, I don't want to say breedable, but a very strong people that would continue to have children. So as evil as he is, like it was a balance. It's morbid to think about, but even to the people he saw as better and the people he sees as worse, he still made it work in his little ecosystem.
It's a very corrupted balance in a way. I'm reading these epigraphs for these couple chapters. I've gotten more of the sense of the Lord Ruler being like envious and always jealous of like the Clenny people. I never really, I never sunk in before that like the Terrace people were these like pastoral herdsmen and they had the simple lives, and the Clenny people were like the Athenians to the Spartans. They had the more cosmopolitan metro. Even it talks about later, like the architecture for Luthadel was based off the Clenny architecture, and the fashion sense was. So like, and we know he had like this hatred and that he stole the power from Alendi. Like, I just get this picture of him as being this super jealous, almost conceited guy, and like then he goes and he makes like his race inferior, and he goes and like he makes the noble people taller and like the ska shorter. Like he almost seems like he was working out his frustrations from his youth when he set up his new world.
And it is, I don't know if it's canon, but it is what very commonly theorized that the Kaleni people, when Rashek took the power, he made them into the Ska, and that those are the descendants of the
That
people he hated,
tracks.
and that's
That,
why he made it that like that.
yeah, that completely tracks.
Oh, I don't
Um,
remember hearing that.
I've heard it quite a lot, and
Well, and he did
I
say it's a commonly accepted fan theory. It's
yeah
might not be canon.
yeah. I'll have to check a while later to see if it actually is. Um, I did want to bring up the Ellens back in book one commented like, "Oh, are they actually really slow and sluggish?" And Vin was like taken aback. She said, "No, they think as well as any of us," when she was pretending to be a nobleman. And like, apparently, these racial stereotypes have like truth and fact behind them, which is a little weird.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It makes sense for the story, but it is kind of like thematically, like, oh, it's actually true. It's
Yeah.
kind of messed up.
Hmm. So there's actually probably less to talk about in the actual chapter than there was in the epigraph. The army reaches Fadric City, and Ellen, Ham, Cett, and Vin discuss how they want to go about taking the city. It's well fortified naturally and well supplied, and the area has been deforested to make for better visibility for defensive archers. Furthermore, the bridges in have been made ready to collapse. Ham, of all people, feels like they may not be going home. Cett suggests leaving Fadrex for later and conquering the smaller cities in the area, forcing Yomen to have to come out and respond. Ellen says no, they're not here to pillage the countryside, but to get to the cache. Cett finally gives in, but says it's going to be a long siege, and they could make it shorter by just killing Yomen. That gets vetoed out of hand, and instantaneously by particularly Ellen, but kind of sort of everybody else. Finally, Cett gives Vin a list of names of informants to go visit in secret. Cett grumbles about not getting his city back, but Ellen tells him that he will get a city to rule over, but he will not get to choose which one or when he will get it, which kind of makes everybody sort of smirk at that. Vin has a cute little moment where she tells Ellen he isn't good enough a Mistborn to come with her into the city, and then the chapter ends. And that's really all there is to say about that. It's a debate over whether or not to kill Yomen and how they want to besiege the city.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, in the
Yes.
first point of view with Ellen and Ham, it is about, I love the little like location, location, location. And even though Luthadel was the only city with walls, This one kind of has natural barriers.
It doesn't have walls, but it has walls.
Walls per se. And something I found really weird is Ham keeps referring to Elend as L, like anytime he talks to him.
Yeah, even though he was at one time asked not to do that.
Exactly. I specifically remember him saying, "Hey, Hammond, you gotta call me like Your Majesty from now on." So I wonder, is that Elend letting go of that? Like now his actions speak for the fact, and he doesn't need his friends to kind of push that in his mind. Now he's just, I am the Emperor now, and these are my close friends, and they can call me as such. But anybody else is, it's Your Majesty to you.
It also might be they're in a small conference with just their close allies and like the people in their inner circle, so it's more okay for him to be calling him L in that context versus like in front of like the soldiers or like out and about, like that
Hmm.
kind of difference.
Yeah.
Shows like
And
how
then,
close they are these days.
yeah, or how close they've become.
Mm.
Then we've got the strategy meeting. Elend has become a really good battle strategist. And not a weenie anymore, putting Cett right back in his place.
I was gonna say I love when he puts Cett in his place. That was so awesome. And he
Yeah,
knew
and
what he was thinking right away too.
right, and Cett even comments, "You're not the same person you were a year ago." And they debate a little bit about whether Cett joined their group or whether Cett got down on proverbially one knee and swore his allegiance. So
Vin's
some
in the
fun
back,
bits, but
smiling in pride.
right.
Kudos.
I think he actually did get down on his knees because I think they took him off of his horse and put him on the ground
They
for him to
did.
swear
They
allegiance.
did, but he
Yeah.
didn't like take the knee. He would have had to have been on one knee because he wouldn't be able to balance himself.
They're like, wait, give us a minute. Like positioning him, holding up. Give us a minute.
Swear fealty to me.
Do you swear it, boy?
To Cett's comment about, well, we can send in the we got 2 Mistborn, just have them go in, kill everybody, bada bing. Ellen's like, we don't do that. And he's like, well, you did it to me. I'm like, well, they killed the soldiers who were fighting back. They left the leadership alive.
That was a good stinger though.
Mm-hmm.
And I like how it calls out like Vin's not sure if she would ever trust or if Cett would ever trust her after that. Can't really blame him.
Yeah.
Sure, that was terrifying.
Probably. Because like his 2 times meeting her is when they've come over to have dinner, and
When her
that was it.
insane killed like 100 guys.
Yeah, and she
They killed 300.
Yeah.
My bad.
In like 10 minutes.
In less than 10
It
minutes.
was like 5 or 3, I thought.
Yeah, something stupid fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a dark time.
She was just confused.
You know how girls are at that age.
Listen, have you ever talked to like an 18-year-old teenage girl? She doesn't know what's going on.
You think I have ever in my life spoken to an 18-year-old girl?
Yeah, nerds.
Maybe
It's in the
when you were
it's
18.
in
When
the
I was
intro.
when I was 18, I was way too afraid of that, and now I'm way too scared of jail. That was a joke. Not actually that way.
I'm not afraid to go to jail.
Oh God, when you put it that way, oh. Okay.
Anything else for chapter 25?
100-style hat trick. They killed 300 people? No, doesn't work. Okay, I'll cut that.
Well, it is your turn, Swiggity, with chapter 26.
I think you should leave that in, Swiggity.
Put the crickets.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, seems like the theme of today is we're not actually reading the epigraph.
You can if you want to. I just didn't because
Okay, it's beating you
Makes
down.
more sense to explain that
Yeah.
one. I summarized this
It-
one, so
it-
here we go.
okay.
The Lord Ruler borrowed features from different cultures to form his empire, such as Clenny architecture and fashion sense. This points to the Lord Ruler's ascension and a little bit of a rags to riches story. He hated Clenny society, yet emulated it when given the power. He seemingly envied them all along, which I kind of talked about earlier. So Spook is hiding in a lair, much like we see Vin.
He
in
calls
the
it a
first
lair.
two-
I can't get past that.
It's just like a studio apartment.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
But
but
it's
that's
a-
illegal in the Citizen City in Urto.
It's a secret studio apartment.
He even says, as far as lairs go, it's not that good.
As far as
It's
lairs
not
go.
bad.
Oh, I love Spook so much.
He is like a superhero, but kind of a lame one. Sometimes.
Listen, you can't don't hate on my man Spook. He's great.
I'm not hating. I love him. He's going a bit crazy right now, but who isn't anymore?
It did kind of remind me of like when we see Vin in like the first part of Final Empire. She's just like
Mhm.
hiding out in a lair.
Mhm.
So he is alive and strong thanks to his newfound ability to burn pewter, a power that defies the basic laws of allomancy as mankind knows them. Allomancy comes in either one of the 8 basic powers as a misting, or all 14 as a mistborn. More pressing than the advent of his new powers is Kelsier's supposed return. Dun dun dun.
I know
Kelsier-
that
Yeah, he's my friend.
guy.
Kelsier spoke to him in the burning building and does so again, telling Spook not to remove the tip of the sword that was lodged in his chest after fighting the citizens' allomancers. He tells Spook it is a symbol of his survival. Anything for this part of this chapter?
Not
Just
No.
fully.
I like the comment on like it's not really expressly said, but Spook can now use both pewter and tin, which is the metal and the alloy. So it's
That's
like he's like the one person who has this specific fourth of the basic 8.
That's really cool. I did not realize that. I think he called it like the perfect compliment. Now that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he has the internal pushing and pulling metals now.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Spook visits the Harrows, a canal away from the citizens' influence. It's a chaotic, poverty-stricken part of Orto where apparently everyone drinks. Spook is handed a bottle of Venture's special vintage, a bottle whose price tag is significantly reduced due to a fraction of its former price as a result of the citizens' personal currency and economic collapse, and his hatred of luxury. So basically,
Communism.
It's not just reduced in price. It was worth hundreds of boxings pre-collapse, and now it's worth less than a single clip.
It's like 3
3/10
packs.
of one clip.
Yeah.
it's essentially worthless, just like his
Yes.
Bitcoin that he's pushing on Orto. Spook burns pewter to avoid becoming intoxicated, and he overhears of the citizens' plan to get rid of all currency. The people of Arto seem to think Kelsier killed the Lord Ruler, who the citizen seems to emulate more and more every day. So he's kind of
So is
pushing this
that more-
narrative of it wasn't even Vin who killed him.
So is that like just being sexist, or is that just hardcore belief in the survivor?
I think it's just based on how stories travel, because Arto is far enough away from Luthadel that it took a while for the information about the Lord Ruler's death to get to Urto, and it's been a little bit like, telephone. The game of telephone, it's just been passed along and it's been twisted and shifted a little bit.
Also, kind of
You got
legitimizes Ellen's rule if Vin is the one who killed the Lord Ruler and not Kelsier, right?
true.
Yeah.
I gotta wonder. There's like one guy that's whole job is back and forth between point A and point B, and just give news, and just like he left, came back, and suddenly God is dead. You have this guy who supposedly came back to life. This little girl has created this whole new democracy with her noble boyfriend, and it's just like, huh? I have to go tell people this? Huh?
Extra, read all about it.
You aren't gonna believe it.
Revolution in Luthadel. God is dead. Killed by a little girl. Okay. So, going along with the theme of the citizen kind of being like the Lord Ruler, he's even going so far as to kill anyone with noble blood, going back 2 generations. Anyone without noble blood for 5 generations is suitable to serve in the government, but everyone else must be executed, which is absolutely horrible. Spook heard some men talking about a coal mine and thinks of what his life would have been like in the gold mine if clubs had not saved him. I think there's just like weirdly something poetic about it being like a gold mine, and gold is like the power that lets you see like your past self. And he's like reflecting on his past and how like everyone in the crew has achieved greatness, and he has always been like a literal observer of that. He burns pewter and crushes a bottle in his hand in a symbolic gesture of him vowing to use his newfound power to help the people of Orto the way Kelsier did for Luthadel. He then hears people talking about him with tin ears and hears them say that Dern has been spreading information about Spook and who he really is. He then flees into the mist.
I do think it would be funny if Kelsier, when he was saving Spook, said, "You now have the power of gold. You can see the what if now, how your life could have been different."
And you have 3 seconds to enjoy it.
Yes.
Thanks. Shouldn't have.
Jerk.
But
It could have
Am I-
happened. He got lucky.
you got lucky, you got Peter. Kelsier was just like at like a spinning wheel. So, what do I give him? Yeah, Peter.
Maybe you can soothe the fire.
Now we just getting silly.
Is it just me, or are there like very extreme Animal Farm communism vibes I'm getting from this city? Like nobody's allowed to have anything really nice. Money is going obsolete. Everybody's equal, except some people are more equal.
Never actually read Animal Farm.
Yeah, I would agree with you. That's definitely what it kind of feels like, which is definitely what it's supposed to be feeling like. It's definitely supposed to be communism. So, um like based off communism.
Just I never really realized that until now. Like crap, we got communism
Ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah.
in Mistborn.
Communism Connections. I don't know.
This is going great, comrade.
Should we
Anything
move on?
else
I
for
didn't have
chapter
I was gonna say,
26?
I got nothing.
Keep it up, you'll get un-America'd.
Our Russian viewership just dropped. Anything else for chapter 26? Okay, 27. Unlike the rest of you. Yes, Rashek made good use of his enemy's culture in developing the final empire. Yet other elements of imperial culture were a complete contrast to Clanium and its society. The lives of the Ska were modeled after the slave peoples of the Kanzi, which, really quickly, that was the same people that Sazed did the prayer for in Kamen's lair. The people who believed that when you died, heaven was deeper to the earth or whatever. The Terra Stewards resembled the servant class of Ertan, which Rashid conquered relatively late in his first century of life. Nothing really on the Ertan. The imperial religion, with its obligators, actually appears to have arisen from the bureaucratic mercantile system of the Halant, a people who were very focused on weights, measures, and permissions. Also nothing on that. Anything for the epigraph?
No.
Flying through the air, Vin notes how strange it is to not wear a mist cloak and comments on how the mist now pulls away from her completely. She lands and makes her way past the guard post before jumping into the city. She realizes it is bigger than she thought and remembers a time when she thought Luthadel was larger than life, a time when she was content and almost happy. Vin completes her loop of the city, jotting down notes of fortifications and troops before visiting the first of Cett's informants, a man named Slow Swift. He invites her to share stories, but she insists on getting information on Yomen. Slow Swift says he is a good man. Without him, the city would have collapsed. Everyone is where they want to be, the sky and the fields and the nobles attending balls. Shocked to hear this, Vin asks for more. He doesn't wish to until Vin explains that the world is changing, and it's up to him on how he falls. Slow Swift says Yomen is a good man, but a bad leader. He believes the Lord Ruler will return, and he has too much wealth for one to have normally these days. Vin gives him a bag of coins and heads to meeting the next informant, Hoid. Really quickly, I forgot to write it in, but she keeps specific coins that are wrapped in cloth so that they land silently, which is
Right, or
awesome.
at least muted. They're not fully
Oh,
safe, but
that's why.
Yes.
That's cool.
they talk about using padded coins in I think it was all the way back in Final Empire.
Really?
I think. It came up briefly at one point, and I feel like it was Kelsier who was talking to Vin about it, which is why I think it was Final Empire, but I don't remember for sure because
I don't remember. And the other, Slow Swift was actually a stand-in for Tolkien. Brandon wrote him as to be Tolkien. That's why the name is Slow and Swift, sort of how Tolkien used to do counter names. And if you read the description of it, it's kind of what I envision Tolkien to be like.
That's awesome.
That's
I never
cool.
knew that.
Finn finds Hoid in an alley. And stops. Something felt wrong. Her instincts warned her to leave, and she does. Vin heads to the Canton of Resorts, Yeoman's HQ. It was also where he likely had the ATO. All that. As Vin heads towards the third informant, she realized she was followed. With bronze, she realized it was an obscured allomantic pulse she sensed. Vin ran, but the Mistborn was good, keeping up with her easily. She finds two solid anchors and pushes herself backward, only for the pulses to disappear. It had to be the Mist Spirit. Vin hadn't seen it since the well and knew it wasn't ruined. They had different presences. Vin shakes her head and heads back to the camp. That got weird.
I thought for a second reading this that it was going to be like Elend trying to prove he could actually sneak up on her.
I just had an idea as to why Vin got the heebie-jeebies. But we'll talk about that in the spoiler section.
Okay. That would, Swiggity, that is a great idea. But does, pardon me, as all of my pens decide to right at this exact moment, does Ellens know about Vin's Pierce Copper Glass? Has she told anybody about that outside of Kelsier, who's now dead, or not?
I don't know. If she was going to tell anybody, it would be Elend.
Also, would Vin be able to pierce Ellen's copper cloud?
Because he's so strong.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like there are some things that are just elementarily at one level. Like, if a person burns tin, so if we compare Vin burning tin to Ellen burning tin, do they have the same range? Is it based on how their eyeballs are shaped and if somebody can see farther that way, or is it based upon elementic strength?
I think it's based on. I would say it's based on elementic strength.
I would think there are some things that are just like, this is the limit of it. Like steel push, I'll give you that's based on strength. Bronze seeking, that's I would say based, but I feel like copper cloud.
But why would only some of them be based on elementic strength, but not others?
There's that, and what does it mean to be a stronger smoker? Does it mean you have a bigger range? Does it mean that your copper cloud is more difficult to pierce? If that was the case, you'd think there'd be allomancers out there that are so weak that other people would be able to pierce their copper cloud, but not others. So I don't think we have enough information to even really speculate.
Maybe it has to do with internal and external. And how internal ones are more of a base level. Because if a person burns pewter, is if Vin had, if we compared like Elend who has his current level power and an Elend who has Vin's level power, would they have, and they both burn pewter, would they be able to bench press the same amount of weight?
No, I don't think so. I think that the Elend, the current Elend, would be able to run faster for long periods of time, be able to survive harder hits than than an Elend who had Vin's level of power.
It seems likely.
I could go either way. I just feel
Hey, I got one for you. I got a wob for us. What happens when you burn, or what happens when you flare copper or use duralumin in copper, or have a lot of smokers burning in one area? Right, so this is the wob. What happens when you flare copper? Brandon says, what happens when you flare copper? Various different things can happen when you flare copper. I'll raffle that for now. I'll delve that more into... I'll delve into that more. I don't want to delve into that too much right now. You'll find out probably in Era 3. Some of the things that can happen with copper. So apparently we're going
thanks,
to find
Brandon.
out in Era 3 what happens if
Great,
you're
we've only
super
got to wait
strong
5 more years.
with copper. But something weird does happen apparently. So I think it's not either of what we're thinking. I don't think it's range or it's like strength.
Well, now we get into what does a savant of every metal? What does a copper savant? It's just somebody who has a really big range or really big thickness to it.
I think that, like, I don't know if there's any real basis for this, but I kind of see a copper cloud as being like a wave, like a negative wave that would disrupts like the signals that are sent out by allomancy, and kind of like
a white noise generator.
Yeah, like you could increase the amplification, but not necessarily like the frequency.
I feel like I could go either way.
Either way, this is a debate for the spoiler section.
Yeah. Anything else for chapter 27? Okay, Swiggity, you have 28.
28. Okay, so I'm gonna summarize the epigraph again. Watch that. The Lord Ruler.
One of us. One of us. Sorry.
There are dozens of us. The Lord Ruler suppressed gunpowder, as he believed it went against his rural philosophies and could give men power they didn't deserve. It was also a way to keep the Sky Rebellions from getting too close to actually taking over Luthadel.
I just,
Go ahead.
it's so fascinating to think there could have been, if he was just a little bit if he fine, we'll keep guns. And just imagine Vin, Kelsier, and the crew just rolling up, just going, let's go.
I mean,
Or imagine if the
we get a lot of
Inquisitors
that in
had
Era
guns.
2. We get a lot of that in Era 2. So
Imagine if
at
Inquisitors
least
had
we
guns.
do get to see it. Vin and Ellen discuss whether the Mist Spirit is friendly or not. Vin is sure that it's not what's killing people and making others sick, but she doesn't know why. She knows the spirit is not ruined because the power feels different to her. Vin has accepted that she is the hero of ages and tells Ellen she told Slow Swift she would save everyone, turn the sun yellow. Ellen wants to focus on practical matters and realizes he has a hard time believing Vin can stop the ash, prompting him to admit that he's not a very good member of the Church of the Survivor.
Yeah.
Ellen agrees to help Vin stop the deepness, and she confides in him that she relies on his hope. It's something she's always lacked. She says she agreed to marry him because he trusts her. That is why she loves him. Ellen says that she will always have her trust. He says he didn't understand her and had to learn that he didn't need to understand her to trust her. That was a really cute moment.
It's so sweet.
And one of the best lines of the whole book is in this section.
I think I have it written down. Do you want me to read it or do you have it?
I think I have it. Oh, come on. You have to admit that you're unusual, Vin. You're some strange mixture of a noblewoman, a street urchin, and a cat. Plus, you've managed, in our short 3 years together, to kill not only my god, but my father, my brother, and my fiancé. That's kind of like a homicidal hat trick. It's a strange foundation for a relationship, wouldn't you say?
I feel like we've talked about that quote before because I remember saying, how do they know what a hat trick is?
We definitely had
Yes.
this conversation.
Yeah. It's still a fun section. Like,
In which we have, it's been 3 years. So we know from the events of when they met to now, it's been roughly 3 years.
There you go. In steel.
Yeah.
Ellen is determined to try to work with Yomen diplomatically in case he can't control his Koloss like Jastes did in the Well of Ascension. Vin suggests crashing one of the balls that Yomen attends, and Ellen trusts her and realizes that it's actually kind of a great idea. Vin suddenly grows very pale and says, "Oh no, I can't go to a ball. I didn't bring a gown." And that's how the chapter ends.
A great little end to that.
Also, it's really fun is that when in ball,
Oh,
Ellen,
you're cutting out a
Ellen-
lot, Kay.
yeah, that whole thing was lost.
Yeah, sorry.
so when Ben mentioned they should might
Yeah, it's
be
cutting
able
out a lot.
Do you want to try leaving and coming back?
That usually helps.
Okay, let's talk smack about her before she comes. Oh, welcome back.
So when Ben mentions that they are going to the ball, Ellen is like, I need some new reading material.
Ellen needs books and Ben needs a dress.
Ben is like, don't you fucking dare.
Yeah. If I see one novel,
So help me.
I'm burning puke and I'm slapping you.
So at the very beginning, you've got. I think we've joked about tinfoil before, in which how could you make this book into metal and tinfoil? Ellen is carving this letter into steel foil, which I don't even really understand how that works. But I'll have faith it's basically tinfoil.
Not sure.
So in canon, we have that idea.
They had talked about
Ruin,
using like metal sheets before.
yeah. Vin, not Ruin, was very illiterate this chapter. She was
What do you
very
mean?
talkative and she used very big words.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it sounded like you said illiterate.
Yeah, that's what I heard as well. That's why I was like,
I said Vin was very literate.
Yeah, I was just. It sounded like you said illiterate. I was confused, but yeah, she was. This was one of the best like sections of them being a couple. I think probably my favorite. Them like confiding about the trusting each other. Very well
Mhm.
written. Maybe more than she normally talks, right?
Vin, the woman who couldn't trust anyone, is now asking for complete faith from Ellen. That is character. Also, and I forgot to bring this up in Spook's chapter, Spook was commenting on sometimes he felt like Ash and just like floating through life. The first time we meet Vin, she was staring up, looking at Ash and what it would be like to be like that.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah,
Dead zombie.
that's like pretty much it though. I would say for these chapters. I don't have any notes. Do you guys?
I do
No.
not. That
To
was
that
it
whole
for
thing
me.
about Vin's diction, I feel like there was a point in the one of these chapters, either shortly before now or possibly shortly up and coming, where somebody talks about an urchin or a street person having too good addiction to have grown up on the streets. And I remember saying that exact same thing about Vin in book 1. Just saying.
You did, in which
Yes.
we talked about how Green um
Yeah, trained her to talk
taught
like a noble, etc. Which,
yeah.
then where did he learn it?
But this is her normal talking. This is not her putting on a persona. This is just who she is. And she does use these words. Anything else for this chapter set? Okie
Not
dokie.
not with no spoilers.
Well, next time we'll be covering the final 5 chapters of part 2, which will be chapters 29, 33. Kay's already got dibs on 2. I need to figure out which one I'm going to take because she took one of mine. But it is time to head into the spoiler realm. So if you have not finished this book, the entire series, or potentially the entire Cosmere, then we recommend that you stop here because it is likely that we will talk about everything and anything. But if you are up to date, feel free to stick around because it is likely that we will bring up details you may have missed or plot threads still yet to come. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, star, heart, or whatever it is on this podcast. Don't be afraid to comment your own thoughts and predictions. We would love to hear from you. But this is where we must part. And my name is ReaderWarrior, and I have been joined by Swiggity Swoo,
Maybe we can soothe the fire.
Sean,
I'll give you diction. Wait a minute. No.
Kay,
have a good one.
and don't forget there's always another connection. And we're back in the spoiler realm.
Eek. Ah. Scared.
Ooh. Chapter 24. I'm a bit confused. Can Ruin see the future or not? I feel like we've had this conversation before.
Ruin can kind of see the future, but he's not very good at it. Um he he can't see very far into the future, and he can't see very clearly.
Because he was able to see clearly enough, like, oh, if I give Kelsier the 11th medal,
Like I
great.
said, he can't see very far into the future, and he can plan. So he
Mhm.
was like, he planned for like this to happen. Did he know that this was actually what was going to happen? Not necessarily. He had backup plans upon backup plans, I can almost guarantee. So, like, this was
Do
one
we
of
think
his
Kelsier
plans.
died? He was like, shoot, wait, that Vin girl's got something going on. I can use her.
Well, he was planning to have Finn be the one to open the well.
Was he, or was it just the
Yeah.
fact that Kelsier died?
No,
So I feel like Kelsier would have.
No, he.
No, Kelsier would have definitely taken the power into himself.
So,
yes.
no.
Mm.
Ruin caused Vin's mom to go crazy and kill the baby sister with the earring and stab it into Vin's ear so that she would have extra
But you
secret
said yourself,
powers.
Ruin had backup plans upon backup plans. What if Vin taking up the well was just a backup plan?
Could have been, but there's got to be some level of future sight to orchestrate all of this stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he has future sight to some level, some degree, but he's not very. All shards do.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like there's been a wob or something that says all of the shards have it to some degree or another.
Yeah, but different shards are better at it. Like Preservation was much better at looking into the future than Ruin was.
And it's
And it is
never
typically
quite
tied
accurate.
into their intent.
Yes.
But I feel like Ruins is the most confusing, considering this planning, yet he couldn't even see Preservation's plan in the slightest. Yeah. So we've got TenSoon in his cage. Nothing really here
And,
except for.
well, they reference the ATM that Vin needs to learn about. Because Vin needs to know that it's there.
Was that the secret he was referring to, or was it?
That's the secret he's referring to.
Okay. I thought he could have been referring to, oh, we kind of know all about Ruin, the first generation of terrorist people. We kind of all are supposed to get controlled and then kill ourselves.
Well,
Like, there's a lot
yeah,
of things he could have been talking about.
but the big secret is the location of the ATM stash.
Anything else? No. Chapter 25.
Well, I guess we know he got the dog bones because he's going to use them to escape.
Yes.
Small
Like a dog.
spoiler.
Like a dog.
I got that dog in me.
Like a dog. Where am I hearing that? I'm getting
Anyways.
that quote from something. You know, like a dog. I can't remember where that's from. It'll come to me at some point. Chapter 25. This is the battle strategy chapter. I got nothing in this really either. This was fairly straightforward.
What do you think happens with, does Cett ever get a kingdom that Helen gives him? Is that promise ever followed up on?
No.
No, because Ellen dies before.
Yeah,
Do
true.
we think?
But I would assume that well, they don't have kingdoms after the Cassandra, but I assume that Spook Spook gives Cett keeps his title and gives him power and stuff. So like,
I think
Sway.
Cett definitely lived for, granted, how long did he live after that? The older members of the crew, so how much time did he have left? But he definitely was a part of the inner circle king's court, if we're considering Spook to be king. But I
Spook was
don't,
emperor, but yeah.
yeah, but I don't see Cett living long enough to get any place of his own to call him a king again.
Well, yeah, they didn't have kings.
Yeah, I'm being in the broad sense of the term, king. The person in charge, the politician, the governor, the whatever term you want
Do you
to
think
use.
it would have been more effective if they just like what would happen if they just tried to assassinate Yomen? Like as a thought experiment.
Well, they would have failed because Yomen is
Yeah,
is an
Yomen would've
ATM
ATM
mystic.
mystic.
their asses.
Yeah, but he only had like a limited number of beats. So, and Vin knows how to beat ATM, and they also have
2 of them versus 1.
Electrum.
But she knows how to beat ATM when she's expecting to fight someone with ATM. She wasn't expecting to fight someone with ATM. Like, Yomen could have gotten the jump on her.
Okay, but like, he's not going to be burning it religiously. He's probably, and the only times we really see him burn it are when Vin charges at him. So we can assume like he has the stash in it, burns it quick to dodge, and maybe things. So if Vin just comes out of the sky and just like kills her, I think she wins.
And
If she,
Electrum does throw a wrench in the works too, because as soon as she realizes, oh, he's got ATM. Okay,
yeah, he
can't do
dodges
that.
my blows twice and then burns Electrum.
Yeah.
True.
They wouldn't have realized ATM missed thing.
He might have stabbed one of them or something though. He might have got a
He
good
wasn't
hit
really
in.
a fighter.
But he still could have gotten the
Yeah, if
jump
he
and
wanted to.
stabbed someone.
If I was
you-
writing it, he would have like taken out a dagger.
You don't need to be a fighter to be able to stab someone.
That's true.
That's the quote of this
Anything?
book.
Anything else for 25? 26. There was a line in the epigraph where Sazed says, "Now that I am immortal and for all accounts omnipotent, I can now understand the power," or something along those lines. I wonder how much of that is true. I'm guessing he's omnipotent on Scadrial,
Yeah.
but even that we've seen, like, if a shard shows up, they can mess with that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Just want that to be noted.
Yeah. Worth calling
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much, Swiggity, for doing the exact quote of you either get one of the 8 or all of 14. Because at this point, nobody has tried just doing the higher metals.
Ooh, that's interesting, isn't it?
Also, anybody who tried burning the Electro isn't really getting it.
This is the. So we talked about how Spook has been pewter spiked in that last chapter. And then also, like, Kelsier is not really Kelsier, it's Ruin talking to him and influencing him. How does this chapter read now that we know that? Because it's kind of like, what is Ruin trying to get him to do by saving Orteau?
He's not trying to get him to save Orteau. He's trying to push Orteau even more into a collapse.
He's just trying to get Spook to kill whatever the guy's name is that escapes my mind.
The citizen, Quellian.
Quellian.
He's trying to get him to kill Quellian to cause the city to go into chaos.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
in which the first time he shows up in this chapter, Spook goes to remove the spike. He's like, "Don't do that. Mm-mm.
yeah.
No.
Hey, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Don't do that. You need it to prove that you survived."
Yeah. Stay maimed. Super cool. He's smart though. He's clever. Like that is definitely the move to manipulate Spook to appear to him as Kelsier. And I love that like that then eventually does happen. Like Kelsier comes and makes him like
And
the Lord
talks to
Mistborn.
him.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Yeah. And my only other thing was, could pewter always distract from alcohol? I feel like that's not something pewter has ever done or ever does again.
Well, it's never mentioned before.
That just
Don't they
feels
talk about it helping the body recover from poisons, though?
Yes, they do. And
Yeah,
alcohol
which
is a
we've
poison.
already.
true.
Yeah,
Which is more
Okay.
efficient, you think? Stormlight or pewter?
Stormlight.
Stormlight.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what I was
Yes.
getting at. Is that right now pewter feels an awful lot like life.
Yeah. But Stormlight rids your body of toxins. Pewter just helps you resist them.
Or
Right.
metabolizes it.
If you break your
But-
arm with Stormlight, it just heals. But with pewter, like, it'll take you less time.
Yeah. And you also don't feel the pain.
Yes, but Stormlight won't make you inherently stronger. Like,
True.
you know, able to swing harder, etc.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or like if someone hits you in the arm with a club, if you're burning Stormlight, your arm is still gonna break. If someone hits you in the arm when you're burning pewter, your arm might not break.
Mhm.
Right.
Hmm.
Anything else for this chapter before we get on to this? Okay, 27. So,
Is this the one when Ben is jumping around the city?
yes. So,
Jump.
before we get into Secret History, I loved this part where Vin stops when she finds Hoid, sees him just sitting there, and immediately realizes something is wrong. Like, she is the first character in the entire Cosmere to ever realize, hey, he's not right, and I need to leave.
It's
And
funny
I
you say
love
first
that.
because it's like Cosmere Book 2, but
Right.
you're right.
Well, it's 4, but or maybe 5.
No, 4. It's 4.
You're so
Did
right,
Warbreaker
though, like-
come out after this?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody
Okay.
else stops and talks to this mad lad.
And Vin spends like, she's never met him, really, but the minute she sees him, she's like, this woman who is all about instinct and some animalistic understanding and connection to the world
I don't think
realizes,
that's what it is.
I don't think
I don't want
it
to
is
talk
either.
about secret history yet. And then realizes she needs to get away from him. And I love that. And then secret history comes along and ruins it all.
So you like
'Cause
this
apparently-
before Secret History?
Yes. I think Kelsier screaming at her to ignore it and that being somehow rippled from the cognitive to the physical ruins this moment completely. I think you can have Kelsier lose sight of Vin, and then when she runs away from Hoid, he catches up with her, and that's when you have the little chase scene.
I don't think that's what's going on here. But again, this is going to be a minority opinion. Because I think Kelsier screaming at Vin during the secret history is coincidental. I think the timing of that is sheer coincidence. I think she is burning brass and senses his investiture, but she doesn't recognize it as allomancy because it's not a pulse that she'd be familiar with. So I think
I am more than happy to accept that, but that's still her realizing something is wrong.
right, yeah, but she just doesn't know why.
Love that
because
still.
it's not familiar to her.
I
Exactly.
can't buy it because Hoid has always been. I always see him as kind of a good guy, so I don't think she'd
Right,
be able
but
to
if
pick
he
up
was
on something
using
that's
weird
not there.
magic and she went, "Hey, he's using weird magic, but I don't realize that that's what I'm sensing," that would be a totally legit reason for her to be like, "Yeah, I don't think so," because we know he has Yolish magic at this point.
Mm-hmm. He probably has breasts.
Yeah,
So like she would if she's burning it wasn't brass. It was
bronze.
Is it bronze? Whatever.
yeah, bronze.
The seeker metal.
Yeah. Like she would probably be getting a strange reading from him. Granted, how much of an area of effect does bronze has? Let's not get into that. I would be more than happy to accept that too. I just hate the secret history thing.
Well, we know that,
Like I
first of
said, I
all,
think that's
sorry,
coincidence.
quick note, reader. We know that bronze has a pretty good radius of area that you can do because of in the book one, when Marsh is teaching Vin how to use bronze, they're up on the balcony, and Kelsier and Renew are down on the grounds, like far enough away where they can't like hear what's going on
True.
at all. Uh,
True.
and she's practicing on him with sensing his almatic pulses.
Hmm.
So
I just hate the secret history thing. I think it takes away from this really epic moment where Vin is the only person in the entire Cosmere to realize Hoid is dangerous and backs away.
Well,
I
no,
don't.
not the only person, because Kelsier knows.
I was just gonna say that it's
Kelsier,
actually
Kelsier knows because he got his arm broken and he got his
Kelsier's
face
got
punched
the
in.
only one who doesn't
butt
get
whooped.
along with Hoid because Kelsier's evil.
Because Kelsier got his butt whooped by him.
We saw Kelsier meet Hoid in the Final Empire, and he didn't think anything of it. It was only when Hoid showed up floating on a body
They were
and then
both in
get
disguise.
beaten up. He's in disguise as a beggar here too, and an informant.
Yeah, but he's also beat him up. Like, this is after beating him up.
Yeah. He's probably just humming along thinking, beat that guy. You think
I
he
would
could
love to
see
see
him?
that conversation, though, between Vin and Hoid.
No,
I'm sad we missed out on it.
You don't think Hoid can, on some level, see into the
no,
cognitive, or at least sense it in a better way than normal people?
not unless he is actively trying to look into. Even then, I don't think that he can actively look into the cognitive realm until he bonds design and he gains the power of soul casting from the light weavers.
Possibly. And I guess the other big thing is Vin's whole chase with the Mist Spirit is actually Kelsier. In which I would have it be remember back in the Final Empire when they're doing the training session together and we don't know it's Kelsier? Have like copy some of the exact movements used in that, but have it now Vin is the one being chased.
I get that. That would be cool. You couldn't have, like, coins or anything being shot, fortunately.
No.
But I remember that.
Anything else for chapter 27?
Just that I
Okay.
really would love to have seen Hoid and Vin's conversation, whatever that would have
You
been.
miss your boy.
Yeah.
Chapter 28. So, my real big thing is Vin talks about feeling hate from the mist now, and how it's different from the mist spirit, but she's felt the mist spirit's hate or something. Do we think she talks about how when recently the mist hates her, or she gets a hating feeling around the mist? Is she sensing preservation's hate towards her, or more specifically her hemalurgic spike? Or is she sensing ruin's hate through the spike at the mist?
She's sensing the hatred of the the mist, which is of preservation, not specifically preservation's hatred, but the mist of preservation's hatred towards the influence of ruin on her.
Mhm.
She's basically spiked. She's basically like a antenna for Ruin's signal.
But it's
Picking
not
it up.
just that she's spiked, it's that she's also like she's acting in Ruin's interests. She's being manipulated by Ruin and pushed to do things that he wants her to do that are causing destruction.
Mhm.
Cool. I never thought about that. It's like
Mhm.
because preservation can probably see into the future too, right?
Yeah,
Very well.
As
yeah,
we had discussed.
because preservation also chose Vin before Ruin did.
Mhm.
Yeah. Because, so the reason that I say that about the mist is because, like, in the previous books, like, Finn's been wearing her mother's earring since book 1, and it's been a hemalurgic spike the entire time, and it wasn't until recently that the mists started pulling away, and it's been when she has started acting more in Ruin's interests, being manipulated by Ruin
That's
to do
smart,
certain
yeah.
things.
Mhm.
When she started fulfilling Ruin's prophecy.
Anything else for this chapter?
Can't think of anything except for the mist spirit is actually friendly. Like we can just confirm all the things that they were questioning, right? The mist spirit's
The mist
friendly.
spirit is friendly, except for the one time it was ruined and he was intending to stab at Ellen.
Yeah.
No, that was Kelsier who grabbed Preservation's arm and stabbed Ellen.
No, I'm talking about when they were heading to the terrace.
Oh, I thought you meant when Preservation actually stabbed Ellen.
No, when Ruin was pretending to be the mist spirit and stab at Ellen in his sleep and then
Subtle distinction.
something. That part still doesn't make any sense.
He's trying to get.
Yes. Also, that time was preservation with Kelsier, pushing his hand down.
This gets so convoluted.
It does. We're gonna have to do an episode either at the beginning of Alloy of Law or like or before we even do it of here's all the things that happened and we're gonna kind of go through by through so you can not be confused for what's next.
Secret history.
So you remember 3 years ago when we did that podcast where we talked about the stuff that was going on during the Well of Ascension? Yeah, that's this.
Mhm.
It's gonna be like that.
Anything else for just this whole chapter segment 24 through 28?
Nope.
I like turtles.
Well, okay then. That will just about cover it for this episode. Thank you so much for our ramblings and predictions. We cannot wait to cover what is next. This has been Cosmere Connections, and we hope to see you next time. Bye.
Take it easy.
Peace. That's fair. Also, this is my project I've been working on right now.
What is that?
If you've recognized any of the stickers, if you know of any of the stickers from Sanderson books,
Mbot.
it's Mbot.
Cool.
That's amazing.
Oh, it's coming out really good.
I'm currently working on his arms.
Aww.
That's like really intricate. Wow.
So
That's super cool.
the arms are the hardest part. They're so difficult. I've been doing this for like a couple hours today, just trying to figure out how to do this.
That blows my mind. That's so cool.
I have to write everything down that I'm doing, because otherwise I won't remember, because I have to make 2.
That's smart, though. Yeah. I would be the one who would just wing it, then have 2 like deformed arms.
Yeah.
Wing it?
Yeah. Or tentacle it.
Huh.
Oh. I gotta wait until John gets back.
Go for it.
I just need to think about the things I'm about to say before I say them.
Yes. Hey, we have the same sticker. The same sticker. I just
Boom,
realized.
boom
Boom
slug.
slug. Okay.
I've also got Magellan.
Aw.
Ferdinand?
Huh?
Ferdinand Magellan?
Oh, that's a nice Yumi sticker.
No,
I'm
this,
trying to show it off. It's on my computer.
yeah,
I can
it's
see it. It
very
looks nice.
Yeah, it's the sticker that that they made of Sanderson's parrot.
That's
The one that
awesome.
always takes his pen.
Yep, the one that always takes his pen. They gave it out
That's
at
very
the-
nice.
That's
at the
cool.
first convention. Nice, very nice. Yeah, they gave that out at the first convention.
Have you guys seen the fan art where it's Brandon clutching his pen? It's like, you cannot have my pen. And then you've got the parrot in robes like, Brandon, be reasonable.
Oh god, look at the mess of this basement. No, don't look.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll wait until John has his background back. There we go.
Ta-da.
And we'll come back
Ta-da.
in 3. Wait, where does Swiggity go now? I looked away for 1 second, he disappeared. Oh no, what does he have?
Since we're doing
Is
show
that
and
an
tell.
artificial leg?
Yes.
What did you just carry over?
Prosthetic. I will show you. This is what my sibling gave me for my birthday. So, one of them is like supposedly a throwaway piece. Something was like wrong with it, but this is like cool art from Michael Wayland,
Oh, that's really nice.
who does like the Stormlight covers.
Ooh.
Nice.
That looks like Elantris.
I
No,
don't
that's
know
not.
that it's supposed to be any particular Sanderson thing. It might just be an original art.
No, because it looks like they have
Or
a
it could
sharp
be
blade.
from... No, it could also be from Wheel of Time. Because that kind of looks like Rand. With his
Looks
crystal
very
sword.
Wheel of
whose-
Time.
The name I can't remember.
I have no idea.
It says Terrence Realm. I don't know, but a real cool one is Das Way of Kings.
Nice.
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 You gotta get that
That's nice.
framed.
Yeah. You're not wrong.
Okay. Any other show and tells?
And it is signed.